welcome to episode number 4 of my Let's Read. There's not much different from the previous times, although I will be trying to make some viewing experience improvements during post-recording and editing. But other than that, same format as the previous videos. All right, let's get started. If it did, if it got out that they were related to a pair of, well, he didn't think he could bear it. The Dursleys got into bed. Mrs. Dursley fell asleep quickly, but Mr. Dursley lay awake, turning it all over in his mind. His last comforting thought before he fell asleep was that even if the Potters were involved, there was no reason for them to come near him and Mrs. Dursley. The Potters knew very well what he and Petunia thought about them and their kind. He couldn't see how he and Petunia could get mixed up in anything that might be going on. He yawned and turned over. It couldn't affect them. How very wrong he was. Mr. Dursley might have been drifting into an uneasy sleep, but the cat on the wall outside was showing no sign of sleepiness. It was sitting as still as a statue, its eyes fixed unblinkingly on the far corner of Privet Drive. It didn't so much as quiver when a car door slammed on the next street, nor when two owls swooped overhead. In fact, it was nearly midnight before the cat moved at all. A man appeared on the corner the cat had been watching. Appeared so suddenly and silently you'd have thought he'd just popped out of the ground. The cat's tail twitched and its eyes narrowed. Nothing like this man had ever been seen on Privet Drive. He was tall, thin, and very old, judging by the silver of his hair and beard, which were both long enough to tuck into his belt. He was wearing long robes, a purple cloak that swept the ground, and high-heeled, buckled boots. His blue eyes were light, bright, and sparkling behind half-moon spectacles, and his nose was very long and crooked, as though it had been broken at least twice. This man's name was Albus Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore didn't seem to realize that he had just arrived in a street where everything from his name to his boots was unwelcome. He was busy rummaging in his cloak, looking for something, but he did not seem to realize he was being watched, because he looked up suddenly at the cat, which was still staring at him from the other end of the street. For some reason, the sight of the cat seemed to amuse him. He chuckled and muttered, "I should have known." He found what he was looking for in his inside pocket. It seemed to be a silver cigarette lighter. He flicked it open, held it up in the air, and clicked it. The nearest street lamp went out with a little pop. He clicked it again. The next lamp flickered into darkness. 12 times he clicked the put-outer, until the only lights left on the whole street were two tiny pinpricks in the distance, which were the eyes of the cat watching him. If anyone looked out of their window now, even beady-eyed Mrs. Dursley, they wouldn't be able to see anything that was happening down on the pavement. Dumbledore slipped the put-outer back inside his cloak and set off down the next street toward number 4, where he sat down on the wall next to the cat. He didn't look at it, but after a moment he spoke to it. "Fancy seeing you here, Professor McGonagall." He turned to smile at the tabby, but it had gone. Instead, he was smiling at a rather severe-looking woman who was wearing square glasses exactly the shape of the markings the cat had had around its eyes. She, too, was wearing a cloak, an emerald one. Her black hair was drawn into a tight bun. She looked distinctly ruffled. "How did you know it was me?" she asked. "My dear Professor, I've never seen a cat sit so stiffly." Unblinkingly to stare, well, not blinking, so it's very direct and you feel it. Quiver, to tremble or shake with a slight, rapid motion. So, like, that would be a quiver. Um, Sometimes when you're cold, you feel yourself quiver. Rummaging. Well, rummaging is searching for something, but not in an organized way. Like, if you're looking for a file, say your keys in your bag, and you're doing it systematically, you're taking them all out, putting them on the table, and then taking the one you like, that's not rummaging. Rummaging is kind of just sticking your hand in there and then just like feeling about until you find it. Pinpricks. So pinpricks are like if you poke yourself and start bleeding a tiny bit, that's a pinprick. But in the context that it was used in the book, it just means like a really, really small dot. Beady-eyed, someone who's like really keen and observant. Like some people, you know how you just walk into a room and something's very, very obviously in front of them, but they just don't see it. They are not beady-eyed. Someone who is beady-eyed is like they walk into a room and then you change the place of your mouse by half an inch. They see it. Obviously, that's exaggerated, but along those lines. Severe looking, very strict and you know disciplined in their treatment of other people. Ruffled. Ruffled is disorganized, but more specifically when it comes to your hair. It's, say, see my hair right now? It's pretty organized, but if I went like this, that's ruffled. Alright, so that's gonna be all for today. If you would have any suggestions for next time, just leave it down in the comments. If you liked it, like and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll see when I post the next one. Uh, if you didn't like it, don't like, leave a comment, tell me what you didn't like, and I'll try to change it for next time. Thanks for watching.